Hello, everybody. Happy April 24th, 2020. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talent in Connecticut. And on today's show, we have the former Watertown Indian and soon to be incoming freshman for the Dean Bulldogs, Owen Jalbert. Owen, thanks so much for being able to come on today.
Thank you so much.
No problem. And I forgot to mention, football player, which will be playing at Dean as well. Before we get into that, I just want to kind of go back a little bit because now with this quarantine, you've had a lot of time to sit back, do homework, chill, and reflect on your 4 years with Watertown. Just kind of go into, a story a little bit about your freshman, sophomore, junior, and then your senior year.
So my freshman year was a crazy one by far. We didn't have that good of a schedule, or not good of a season, because we ended up going through four quarterbacks. With John Palumbo being our starter, ended up getting Andrew Catania getting injured in Wolcott in a night game. Then having such a young offensive line, there was a lot of players on our offensive line that some never even played football ever before. So It was kind of cool getting to know them, even teaching them techniques and what to do on this, and even just learning the new plays, because from going from pee-wees to high school was a complete change for anyone who played football, because just all the play calls were called they were just different. We needed to know formations and all this, when in pee-wees you knew this formation was for that play and this place for that formation. So yeah, and then Xavier started becoming our starter quarterback after we went through three of them. And then sophomore year, with JV was really fun, because as a freshman you can go up and just dress for JV, so you get to understand the JV format. And I'll never forget playing JV under George Palumbo. By far one of my favorite coach, because everyone just becomes a son to him, and he just jokes around with every player, which is really cool. And yeah, and then junior year, I finally was able to start varsity. So I was I was the one junior on the whole offensive line, and just learning from my all the seniors and the offensive line coach and Coach Luigi, just built me even better and pushed me to do better even after that junior year season where we went 7-3, knowing that me and my fellow seniors are going to come back our senior year and make a run for it like we did our sophomore year. Mm-hmm. Trying to go back to the CIC playoffs, knowing that we had the talent. That, yes, we had a lot of big people on our offensive line, mm-hmm. which I feel in my eyes, that was our biggest downfall going into our senior year. But in our senior year, we showed that we persevered through that, going up against St. Paul at home, which we never beat them the whole time I've been in high school, mm-hmm. nor have we ever beat them at home. And then come Friday night, we end up beating them at our home field. Everyone was super happy. The locker room atmosphere was amazing. Mm-hmm. We were ready to go in. And then when the whole Triple E thing started going on, going into Naugatuck, we were so hyped. We're just coming off a 2-0 record right now. And then boom, game postponed to the week before Thanksgiving. So attitudes kind of changed going into Ansonia, because when everyone sees Ansonia on their schedule, they're damn, it's Ansonia. We actually got to focus in. Mm-hmm. So we did do good in that game, for playing against Ansonia. Mm-hmm. In my eyes, we did pretty good. But then we just started dialing down. Then we had Wolcott, and then we went into Wolcott knowing oh, we're just gonna win. We're gonna win. And then we end up coming out with a loss in that game, which kind of put doubt in our eyes. And then we started going into our city school schedule, and everyone's let's get our head back on track, all that. And then we run through our city schools with a win, and then we get to Torrington. We're all hyped. Senior day, everyone's happy. Families are all there at our home field. We don't come out with the win, but it was fun. My 4 years, I would have to say, were my best 4 years.
I just want to go into, because you mentioned about the coachings with Luigi, who was the head coach at the time with Watertown. Now he's no longer the head coach. He's given the reins to somebody else. And you also talked about Palumbo as well, who kind of really helped you. What did he do specifically? Was it technique? Was it mentally? Was it physically? What did he do to help you as an offensive lineman?
So with Coach Palumba, he was just like, if like say we were losing, like he would always like bring up the team. Like it was just like a mental thing with him. Like he would always make sure like our heads are up, we're not down in the dirt. That we're always doing our best. And with Coach Luigi, with him being like involved with the offensive line like a lot, he would always like either show us techniques or tell us what we're doing wrong. So like it helped each and every one of the offensive linemen like more, because like not every coach can like pinpoint. So like one coach would say this, but then another coach would say that. So like it just all meshed together.
Now, going in, and you really needed a strong offensive line, going against Naugatuck, even with all the injuries that they had late into last season, kind of one thing that Watertown had, which was you guys were reeling. You went in on a couple game win streak going into that game. And from that point out, and you and I were talking prior to coming on, that from the beginning of the game, you guys were bullying them. You were pushing them 5-10 yards out on run plays, and on pass plays, the pass protection was, I mean, you basically gave your quarterback a lot of room and a lot of time to be able to go through his progressions. Talk to me about that game plan, or just about that game in general, because I know for Watertown, that game was huge.
Yeah. So the week prior, well, not the week prior, but the week of the game, we were just like hitting the sled classroom, coming up with new ways to cover the nose guard, and because they had fast DNs. Like, I think them and Seymour by far had the fastest DNs that would come off the edge. So we had to like make sure like the tackles would kick back quick enough to contain them and whatnot. But that was pretty much it for that week. Like we just knew that if the linebackers blitz, we have to get them. Like if we were going to do a double team, like we had to cancel it. We had to pick up the blitzes, because they'll either blitz 1 to the gap or 2 to the gap. And like if that happens, like we only have so many to block, and if one slips through, that's the running back's responsibility. So
now, specifically into that Naugatuck game, it was a close game, 2015 final score. Was there a part in the game where you felt like, okay, we have this thing under control? Because it's not like the game really kind of ever got out of hand. It was a close game through the first quarter to the last quarter. But when I was broadcasting the game, I kind of said, a couple times that it felt like Watertown was in control of this game. They just weren't able to really kind of, put the nail in the coffin and get those couple strings of touchdowns.
In my eyes, I never really thought we had to control the game, because I mean, like we were like trailing for the whole game until the fourth quarter. We were just knowing that we need to get the ball down the field, score. Defense has to hold strong, not let them score. I don't think once, even in like the atmosphere, like going into halftime in their like gymnasium that they held us in, we were all like me and the fellow captains, we were just trying to tell everyone, keep your head up. We're gonna get through this. Like, listen, all we gotta do is punch in 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion, and we got this. We got the win. We have the win in the bag. Then coming out of halftime, our attitudes changed a little bit, because we had the attitude in the first half started going down because of them getting those 2 passes off that ended up having them score with the. I think it was either the slot receiver or the tight end. It would end up just going up for a fly. Like it was like a delayed route, and he would just be wide open in the middle of the field, and they just dump it off to him. And it was just blown coverage on our part. But those 2 actually like drastically changed people's attitude for a little bit in the first half. But then after that, everyone started getting up. Like our attitudes went up, and then we ended up getting down to the 1. For I think it was 3rd down when we actually punched it in, and then that 2-point conversion, and I felt like we won the Super Bowl. Everyone thought, like, everyone's attitude felt like we just won the Super Bowl. So it was kind of that was like by far the coolest experience.
And you know what? It was a great experience for you to be able to, to go through, both you and the team, because we know about Naugatuck and their reign of the Iron Division. They were pretty much an unbeaten team the last 2 years, but you guys were able to find a way to be able to beat them, even though they were injured. Still a competitive Naugatuck team. Watertown had a great season, may have not ended the way that you and the rest of the team wanted to on Thanksgiving, but still a tip of the cap to the Watertown Indians. You are now being able to continue your playing career for playing with Dean as far as being the offensive lineman. Talk to me about the recruitment process of Dean to be able to get you to come to their school.
So the way I found out is one of my friends. He played for Sacred Heart the year before. He graduated the year before me, and he ended up going to Dean. And he came home one week, and me and him were talking and whatnot. And he ended up leaving college because it just wasn't for him. And he just told me like their coaching staff is amazing. You should give them a look. And then during one of the college fairs that the school offered, they were there. So I was talking to them, and they actually had my major, which I really wanted to go into, which is sports management. And after that, I was just like, I'm dead set. I went to like 3 open houses for them. So I was like dead set. Like, I want to become a Bulldog. I want to go there. And then I talked to Coach Baskerville and then Coach Terrell when they were at the open house as well, because they had like break-off sessions. And like they were like really intrigued with me. I was really intrigued with their program. And then after that, it was just like text back and forth. And then me finally committing 2 days ago or last week.
How could you forget when you committed?
It was like last week on Thursday.
It's fine. Thursday. It's fine. I know. I just told my girlfriend that all the days are blending. Like today feels like a Saturday. Every day feels like a Saturday.
Exactly. There was one day last week where I was like, I think today is Sunday, and it was like Friday. I'm like,
right. I'm telling you, this quarantine's making us all go crazy. But exactly. Circling back to Dean a little bit, we have a couple minutes. Have you been able to connect with the offensive line coach for Dean? And if you have you and him kind of talked about maybe what you need to work on going into your freshman year?
So Coach Baskerville is the offensive line coach, I'm pretty sure, which he does the recruitment for, like, I think all of New England and whatnot. So, like, me and him have been going back and forth. Like, he asked me if I was, like able to, because they want me to go up and weight. If I can lift, and as of right now, like with all the quarantine going on, like all the gyms are closed and whatnot, I don't have an at-home gym.
How much weight do they want you to gain?
So they want me to be 250, and I'm currently 246 or 236.
Okay, so you just need to have a couple pancakes, right?
Exactly.
A couple pancakes every day, you're good.
Exactly. But no, not recently, because like of all like with schoolwork, I haven't really been able to like send a text out saying, "Hey, coach, what would you like me to do to since we're all at home and all the gyms are closed or whatnot? What tips and tricks can I like do to improve either my form or just like build up this muscle mass?"
Is there anything as far as when you were texting him? Maybe I know you just mentioned about form. Is there anything technique wise he wants you to work on as far as your footing, your footwork, or maybe your hands or something like that?
As of right now, no.
Okay.
But only time will tell.
Okay. I was just curious because I know a lot of times for coaches, just because we're talking about offensive line, because I know, the way certain coaches, they like to teach it their way. Yeah. But if he already likes your technique and the way your hand placement is, I mean, kudos to you, but also to the coaching staff of Watertown, because like you mentioned, Palumba really was able to kind of instill with you a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
But Owen, I really do appreciate the interview. I'm sorry we got to wrap it up. Time just flies by when we do this, but hey, you're always welcome to, come back on any time, either before the season, and hopefully if you have a, freshman season for college, you could talk about your first year, your first game, and I mean, hopefully you can start the first game.
Yeah, that's the goal, but got to fight for that position.
I'm sure you'll fight. I mean, I've seen, I highlighted you a couple times during, the fall season. I watched your tape. You play bully ball, and I like it. Hopefully you can, if you stick to that attitude, man, the sky's the limit for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You know what? Enjoy the rest of your day, man, and be safe.
You too. Thank you.
That'll wrap things up here on the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.